Good afternoon, everybody. Can everybody hear us? Excellent. Thank you. I know we're the session right after lunch, so we're going to try to make this as engaging and as productive for you all, especially after eating all those carbs and good cookies and all the drinks. So thank you, Elizabeth and team, for feeding us a really good lunch. We wanted to take a little bit of time to really talk about how to partner with purpose. Because partnerships is everything. As you heard in the morning with some of our speakers already, everything we do is focused on collaborating. Because collaboration is the key to serve the military-connected community. So it is my honor to be here with Kara, with Dan, Sam, in our VIP Jax, that we're going to have a really good conversation of what partnering with purpose looks like between Endeavors and Canines for Warriors. But before we really start diving in, I would like to give Kara, Dan, and Sam an opportunity to introduce themselves, and then I'll take a little bit of time to introduce myself as well. So we'll get started with Kara. Over to you.
Fantastic. Good afternoon, everybody. I am Kara Smith. I'm the Director of Suicide Prevention and Community Wellness Services with Endeavors. I have been at this amazing organization for about 4.5 years. I am a licensed clinician and currently operating in a space where I oversee a number of different programs that have kind of a suicide prevention focus in them. So thank you.
Thank you, Kara. I appreciate you. Dan, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Ben. On behalf of Canines for Warriors, we want to thank Endeavors, the George Bush Institute, Elizabeth Dole Foundation, and obviously Wounded Warrior Project for putting this together. Talking about collaboration and partnership, Canines for Warriors wouldn't be here without Wounded Warrior Project. They were instrumental in starting us 14 years ago, and here we are 14 years later. We have almost 1,200 pairings like Warrior Sam and Jax, and we're in Florida and in Texas, obviously, and we have paired a warrior from every single state in the Union and almost every single territory as well. We reflect on the 14 years where we started in a garage. The nation's largest service dog provider started on Cat Road, and now we have a couple of different facilities, and we're moving forward, and we're going to do that with partnering with entities like Endeavors and WWP, Elizabeth Dole Foundation as well. So thank you for the opportunity. Sam?
Hi, Sam Hampton, United States Marine Corps veteran, a little over 17 years of service. Came into the fold with Canines for Warriors after recognizing they needed a little bit of help. Got paired with a wonderful dog, Jax. So I'm really glad to be here and support the, Endeavors Foundation and Canines for Warriors and everything that they're doing to help veterans. So really glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here and having to have this conversation. One of the things that Canines for Warriors and Endeavors has been able to do recently is come together with our specialties, right? When it comes with training a warrior and pairing them with a service dog, where one of our core components within Endeavors is providing case management and being very purposeful on how we can collaborate together to serve the warriors that you all are serving with a program that we call Strength and Step program. I love one of the catchphrases, but it's very meaningful that Canines for Warriors has. And this leads to our first question to Dan. Is very purposeful. You all say you're saving lives at both ends of the leash, and that's really a very unique approach that you all take, right? So from your perspective, can you talk a little bit about what that means, right? When you all say we're saving lives,
Sure.
Our purpose is to save lives at both ends of the leash.
Sure. So Sherry Duvall started our company at the age of 65. She started in her garage. She lived on Cat Road. Her son, Brett, came back from Iraq. He was not the same Brett that left, as so many of us know the story. Sherry didn't know exactly what was wrong with Brett, but she knew that the only thing really that Brett was relating to was the family dog. And so she started that with that thought process. She built Canines for Warriors, and we are a majority rescue dog operation. So that is why we save lives at both ends of the leash. It is just absolutely wonderful. Jax is a rescue dog, and so it's an amazing ability to take a dog out of the Humane Society or a dog that has been abandoned, and be able to work with that dog, train with that dog, and then turn them into somebody that will love them just like Sam. And so they work to save each other or work to help each other have a more quality life. We had a song that was recently released about us at the Country Music Awards. It's called Who Rescued Who? And it is very apropos about a dog that's been rescued by a warrior, and the service dog is going to rescue the warrior, and the warrior rescues the service dog. And we do it over and over and over again. And we're really just fortunate the way Sherry built that program. But we continue to we know that we come to work every day knowing that we got to be better than we were yesterday. And so when we started in a garage on Cat Road, now we have $35 million in hard assets, and we're much more sophisticated, but we have a long way to go. And we recognize that there are too many veterans and frankly too many people in the world that are suffering from PTSD that need all of our help. And so we don't compete against anybody. We compete against suicide, and suicide is evil. And so we all need to band together to do what we can. And that's really what drove us to partner with Endeavors, because we obviously concluded, just like everybody else, that we're not going to end veteran suicide. That's our mission. We're not going to do it by ourselves. And so we needed to partner. And fortunately for us, Endeavors was willing to try us out. So we're grateful.
Appreciate that. And one of the things that you mentioned is you saw that there was a need, right, to continue to serve veterans and work towards a goal of ending death by suicide.
Correct.
So knowing that there was gaps, where we know collectively we could be serving veterans better, warriors, and their families as well, right? Because that's what we do. What gap did you see in the service dog waitlist process, right, that you have that made this partnership necessary?
So for our warriors, we have 300 warriors on our waiting list. And so that's going to be about a 14 to 20 month wait for them. And so we're extremely concerned with their welfare during that time frame. And so we also have found through our studies and our information and data that rushing them too quickly into class is not good either. Our return rate increases at that point. So there is some body of time that we need to do better to analyze and figure it out. But in that body of time, our warriors need to be treated. Our warriors need to be cared for. We really prefer the case management profession. As we've learned, we can have all the programs we want, but it's really the one-on-one interaction that's absolutely necessary. And so that's one of your specialties. And as I tell our team, nobody trains service dogs like we do. And I don't mean to be arrogant about that, but obviously there's a lot of great service dog companies out there in our country, and we thank God for them and we want to partner with them. But at the bottom line is that we do that very, very well, but we don't do case management very, very well. We have an opportunity to improve our ability to manage the warrior. At the front end is really critical because obviously they're out there, they're waiting, they're apprehensive, and they don't know exactly what they're going to get into. And so the more we're able to work with them on the front end and prepare them for having an animal attached to them for the rest of their life, the better off they're going to do. And we're going to obviously increase their quality of life. We're going to lower our return rate, and it's going to be better for everyone all around. So we've been doing it for 14 years, but we have a lot to learn. And in that opening period where from the time they're apply and accepted until the time they get to us, we're extremely concerned, and we're grateful that Endeavors is going to help us be even better in that time period.
And that's interesting, because as I hear you explain the need and things that are needed to continue to serve the warriors, it leads me to say that as these warriors are waiting to come into Jacksonville, Florida, or to San Antonio, Texas for the in-person training, life happens and continues to happen for the warriors, right?
Right.
Either warriors are experiencing a job loss, or they're experiencing a family separation, or they're experiencing other things that warriors experience. And I think that's where this case management can come into play, right? To serve that warrior while they're getting ready and being prepped and very purposefully being served to ensure that when they come to your training, they're as successful as they can be. So Kara, when you first heard about this potential initiative, right? It was about a year ago, give or take, where Canines for Warriors and Endeavors had a really good, purposeful conversation. And we started discussing, okay, how can we collaborate with both our subject matter expertises? They put together a proposal, and really it was like a gap analysis, right? This is what we're really good at, but we need help with this particular thing that's called case management. And you saw this proposal firsthand because it was really your baby. You're the one that's managing this program for Endeavors in partnerships with Canines for Warriors. So can you briefly explain how the Strength and Step program was designed and how Endeavors case management and really virtual wellness components fits into how we serve and work collaboratively with Canines for Warriors?
Absolutely. So I got really excited when the collaboration was even an option. I did not serve in the military, but I married in. And so I was able to see kind of firsthand what military service could look like afterwards. And I had a whole bunch of skills that helped my family kind of move through some of that process. And that's part of what led me to realize, like, this would be really great information for so many other families to have when somebody is coming back from military service. And so I have kind of been in serving veterans in that space for over a decade. That kind of hurts my heart to say, but over a decade in that space. And so hearing this collaboration, I was thrilled to know that it's just like, one, we heard earlier this morning how important it is for a leadership to have the strength and the wherewithal to say, hey, there's a gap. Like, we do things really well, but we don't do everything. And so where can we bridge that gap? And so we started as a relationship. All of these things, every collaboration has to be on a relationship level. So it's having those open conversations of, what do you think is missing? What would be really helpful? How can we kind of bridge that gap? We start talking about data, right? You kind of have to have the baseline of where are we starting to know that in a year or two, where do we want to be? And are we meeting our goals? Because if we don't know where we're going, we're not going to know when we get there. And so all of this, when we start, I don't know, I get really excited when I start thinking about new programs and what it could be and what it looks like. And so when I read the list of, here's what we would really love to happen. We want our warriors who are waiting, because they came to our organization for a reason. Life is not going perfectly. Life is not going exactly how they want it to go. And so they're looking for something else, something a little more. And to have the courage to do that in the first place is amazing. But then you have a waiting period. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, how do we build support in that waiting period? So we are bringing the idea of, we are going to have data-driven, personalized, needs-based, and strengths-based support provided to these warriors who are waiting on the wait list. And what that looks like is we have the case managers who are gathering data from the clients that they are serving about where are you now and where do you want to be? And some of that is through our wellness assessments, and it covers 8 different domains of wellness. So we can kind of really personalize what personal gaps can we help support. And then as we continue to build relationships, we're also adding in regularly occurring suicide risk screenings, because we know suicide risk goes up and down, and it's never just a flat line. It's never, if it's high now, that doesn't mean it stays high forever. If it's low now, that doesn't mean it won't go up. And so that's also part of our personalized care that we are bringing to the program.
And then, Ben, I know we haven't heard from Sam yet and Jax, but the other thing that allows us to do is build the trust in the warrior. Our favorite phrase once the warrior gets to our campuses is, we want you to trust the process. And so we want them to trust us before they even get there. It takes a lot of courage for them to get on the plane and drive that car to come to a place they've never been before, and they're going to be in a room with people they don't know, and that's absolutely antithetical to what they want to do. So this opportunity for us to really continue to build the trust with them, that they can trust us. For a lot of them, it's the last house on the block. They've been let down by the VA, no disrespect, but they've been let down by their other providers. And so these guys are just a bunch of yahoos with dogs. They're going to let us down. And so the more that we're able to reach them, communicate with them, and to get them to trust us and to tell us what's going on in their life, we're able to better train the dog to meet their needs. So if they're suffering from nightmares, or they're, I can't go out to the soccer camp field, or I can't go to the beach, those are the things we want to know about the warrior, so that we can more individualize the training that we give the warrior. And also we study the dog too, and we want to match the dog as best we can with the warrior. All of those things are in the front end. That's why having Endeavors there helping us increase our level of sophistication is so key. So apologize for going
No,
off
that's
script.
very true, because collectively together we're working to get to a yes for the warrior.
Right.
Because as you said, many times warriors are told no, no, or that's not within our span of control.
We can't do that.
So whenever we bring organizations together and collectively we're working towards serving the warrior, together we're getting to a yes.
Correct.
And that's something that I think is very beneficial for the warrior to hear. Yes, we're going to try to help you. And in addition to us, pairing you with a trained service dog, look at all these other services that we are providing to you as well. So this question is for Sam, right? As from the warrior's perspective, what was, if you don't mind sharing with us, what was your personal experience waiting for a service dog, and how did that affect you, right? How long were you waiting from the time that you got notified that you were accepted to the time that you actually went to St. Helotes in San Antonio, Texas?
Well, my waiting period, Ben, was around 22 months at that time.
So talk about that experience in those 22 months. What life happened, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, coming into Canine's fold, actually, as Kara was saying, the ebbs and flows of how you feel and things happening in life, things like that, are 100% true. And, I finally decided to reach out to Canines, and it's like, hey, I need a little help. I think I'm going to try to go into your program. And then finding out there was such a waiting list and the length of time, at first it can be a little bit despairing, because you're like, wow, okay, there's a length of time. That's a long time. A lot can happen in that time. But the one thing I will say is that Canines was instrumental in reaching out on a very continual basis to check on us, just to see how we were doing. That meant the world. Certain days, you'd get that call, and that meant a lot. Looking forward to that call, for them to just check on you. But it can be really stressful. But like Dan was saying earlier, I do believe that you have to have a little bit of a period to wait, because you got to mentally wrap your head around what's going to happen, and learning what that process is going to entail. As they say, it's like strapping a toddler to yourself and having them with you 24/7. It really is. I mean, he might be smarter than any toddler I know, but it's still such a change in a life-changing moment that you run into, and you're going in head first. I mean, it's an all-in moment when you get there. But the wait itself, it was stressful. I mean, there was times where it was just you sitting there, and I was sweating thinking about it. And then when it come finally time where they were like, hey, we're going to open up another campus in Texas, and I was like, I don't know why you called me and told me this, but I'm all in. If that's the case, I want to go. And we just happened to be the first pairing to go through the San Antonio campus. So that cut my time down immensely, because it was probably going to be about 30 months at that time. We unfortunately had the great event of COVID that was occurring during that period of time. So that was pushing out time frames for warriors. But no, Canines was doing everything in their power at that time to reach out and to stay involved in the warriors' lives. And as with the partnership with Endeavors and things like that, there's so much going on and so many opportunities to intervene or to provide for those veterans. There's plenty of time frame there to provide services and get their minds right heading into the pairing process. So I really appreciate it.
So Sam, based off of that, we know that we have warriors that are in the waiting list right now, right?
Absolutely.
What advice would you give them?
So do their research and be honest with themselves and be honest with Canines and, the partnership and reaching out to whenever it becomes available and as it is available through Endeavors. Honesty with yourself and honesty with them is going to go so much further, because if you have certain things that you like to do or have wanted to do in life, let them know. Because it's going to make your pairing much better. It's going to be a much more productive and rewarding time for you at training and your final result with your service animal. Because I remember being real hesitant about, veterans are veterans. They don't like to open up to anybody. So, and having that resource there, if you open up and tell them the truth, you're going to get such a great result from it. My advice is just be honest with yourself and be honest with them and trust the process. As Dan was saying, you'll hear it a million times when you're there, but you need to trust the process. And the trainers are fantastic at what they do with the animals and which animal they're going to pair you with. So it increases the result immensely.
Yeah, and one of the favorite things, from my perspective is that, Sam has become an ambassador, right, to the program. And it's good to see that we have ambassadors like you that are speaking on the reality of what it takes to apply the waiting period going through the program. Because really what you become is you've become part of the case management process. Yep. Because you're a mentor and we can connect future warriors with you. Mm-hmm. So you have that capability and you're part of the solution, right? When we're talking about suicide prevention, when we're talking about ensuring that warriors are successful. So as an ambassador, you're part of that case management program.
Yes, sir.
And we're all in the business of suicide prevention, right? If you look at all our programs, it's what are we doing to ensure that quality of life increases, productivity increases, that warriors and their families find their next why, but that's very important for all of us. So Kara, to you, my question is focused on suicide prevention. How is suicide prevention training built into the Strength and Step program? And what measurable impacts are you beginning to see as we rolled off this program in July of this year?
I love that. So in this collaboration, we have brought our CARF accredited Zero Suicide training program to the staff at Canines for Warriors. And so what that looks like is multiple different trainings that are designed to build on top of each other to move an individual from suicide. I can't say that. If I say that, I'm going to put the thought in somebody's head, to move them from that, because that's not an accurate situation, right? Like that's not how that works. But to move somebody from that thought process to suicide, of course I'm going to ask about that, because I don't want you to suffer alone, and I want to support you correctly. But you can't just do that in one training and have after 4 hours be like, yeah, okay, I'll easily talk about suicide. It takes time and build up, and you need to continue to encourage your staff and support them through this learning process. And so although at this moment in time, Canines for Warriors staff are not going to be actively screening for suicide at the moment, that's going to be on the Endeavor side of the house. we all agreed it's so important and vital for all of us to have this information, because whether we are wearing our work hat or we are at home, you are a human interacting with other humans everywhere that you go. And you just never know when you're going to get that call or the emoji on the phone that we talked about earlier. Like, you never know when somebody that you care about might need that level of support. And so Dan and his amazing team have been just open arms to say, yes, come in and give us those trainings. So we have started implementing it's a course of 6 different trainings, and we have started our implementation. But even after the first 2 trainings, some of the survey responses are, I've learned new information that I feel like I can use. And we're at the very beginning of this implementation. So at the end, we are going to be able to look at pre-implementation survey answers to post-implementation and really get to see, have we moved the needle for somebody to be ready, willing, and able to have this conversation, even if it's not your job? Because ultimately, I want you to be ready no matter what environment you're in. And they have just been so amazing to work with. And then our Endeavor side of the house, they are trained and they are going to be actively asking warriors about suicide risk. They're trained in, what do I do when the answer is yes? Because it's a when, not an if. When the answer is yes, what do I do? And so we prepare them for that, because there are a whole lot of things we can do to support an individual who is struggling with suicidal thoughts and suicide risk that doesn't involve 911, law enforcement, anybody else coming involved. Like, we can have really beneficial conversations that offer that support and connection. We've talked about connection multiple times today, because connection is key in so many different pieces. And just, I am very thankful that your team is open to learning all of the different pieces, recognizing that it is beneficial. It's not just because of your job description.
You know, and as you explain the process, right, and the things that you're doing to be very purposeful to serve the warrior in collaboration with Canines for Warriors, we know we're capturing data as well, right? We're looking at data, we're evaluating what we see, because that's equally important from serving the veteran and then learning of what you learn from the outcomes, right? So Dan, as we capture the data, we look at outcomes and we see what's working, what's not working, because we'll shift, right? Because we want to make sure that we're providing the right service to the warrior. And then we will learn and we will capture data. So based off of that, how do you see this program contributing to the broader national suicide prevention efforts for veterans?
Well, hopefully we can influence the future provision of services to veterans by showing them that a more individualized care plan for each human is the way to go, and not, again, we can have as many programs as you want. It's not, and those are good and they're well intended, but they're not going to be as effective as the individualized plan for this particular veteran. And you, in order to write the individualized plan for the veteran, you have to know the veteran and you have to have the veteran trust you, so that the veteran will tell you what he or she is concerned about or what they're troubling or what they need help with. So to me, it's all down there on, where the rubber meets the road, and that's where, in the trenches, that's where, Endeavors really excels in that information, the ability to get to them, to earn their trust, for them to tell us their most innermost fears, so that we can better serve them and really get them to have the quality of life that they so really deserve, that their service has taken away from them, right? And so to me, hopefully this will be an example for other institutions, other entities to apply and implement, so that the service to the veteran is going to get enhanced as we move forward as a society.
Yeah, as we work together, hopefully we can develop a playbook, right? Because we understand that this is a unique collaboration, right? Because when we looked across the country, we're like, who else is doing something similar? You all have the specialty in training a warrior, training a service dog, pairing them together, and ensuring that they successfully graduate from a program and then continue to serve them. When we come in with a specialty of case management, we really didn't find a lot. So we hope that we share this information with whoever, right? Whenever we have the data, the evaluation, we want to share it with legislators. We want to share it with advocates. We want to share it with other partners. And if there's other partners are like, well, wait a minute, have you thought about X, Y, and Z? And we could provide this as well to serve the warrior. That's collaboration, right? So Sam, when you hear of this, right, you have Canines for Warriors, you have Endeavors, you have the Wounded Warrior Project, right? You have the Elizabeth Dole Foundation, Shoulders to Sidelines, and a lot of, the Cohen Veterans Network, and you have all these phenomenal organizations that are focused in serving the warrior. What difference does it make for you as a veteran, knowing that you can tap into any of these services, but that they're working together?
Yeah, that's huge, because one thing a lot of veterans don't like to do is to repeat their story, right? They don't want to sit there and, I got to tell A, and then I got to tell B, and then I got to tell C. It gets old, repetitive, and it's like, well, is anybody paying attention, right? So having them all work together and sharing information, collaborating together, that's huge. That way, because whoever it is that the veteran decides to open up to, you can get the information to the right person that needs it to get the help they need. And that's a game changer for helping veterans.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. And Dan, why was partnering with Endeavors or any other organization that you've partnered with, do you see that it's the right fit to fill in gaps for the warrior?
Well, according to the VA, there are 300,000 veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder, right? And only 45% of the veterans, like myself, I'm one of the 55%. I don't go to the VA, right? So I appreciate the VA, but I wish the VA would do more and do more of a case management format. But that's for another panel discussion. But there are 300,000. There's no way that Canines for Warriors can get to all 300,000 veterans. So our brother and sister organizations have to, we need to help them get to the game and start healing people, right? And so we can do that. We all love our dogs and we love training our dogs. And it's the case management side though, which is critical. We can give Sam and pair Sam and Jax, but not giving them the support after they leave us it's not going to end well, right? And so because inevitably they'll have some other issue, an access issue, an employment issue, a legal issue. Their dog will get sick or need surgery and they can't afford it. What do they do, right? And so what we're trying to do is to get the other service dog companies to think about Endeavors, think about Centerstone, think about Cohen for that aspect of treating the warrior, because it's a holistic approach to the warrior, and the warrior needs that. And so to bring them all together under one house, they don't have to repeat their story multiple times. And so we're hopefully, by doing what we're doing, we're encouraging our brother and sister organizations in the service dog industry to do the same thing and to seek that assistance and partnership, because we know that we're really good at training a dog and pairing it with a human. We're not as good with the case management side of it. So we're going to continue to do that. We'll look to other organizations to partner with. We know that the best way to end veteran suicide is to form partnerships, and that's what's going to have to happen on a more grander scale. And we hope that by our example is you're not going to lose your donors, you're not going to lose your funders and your corporate sponsors and things of that nature. I think we've gained it. Okay, when our sponsors and sophisticated donors find out that we're pairing with the largest nonprofit in Texas, they're like, "You go. This is awesome. Way to do it. This is smart." Because we can be more efficient, right? We're going to be able to provide a better service at a less cost to our organization, and that our donors love that, because we're making the most of the 100 pennies that they're giving us, and they're going to give us more pennies because we're spending them wisely, and we're looking to acknowledge that we have an area of weakness, we can strengthen it. We just did that. And so we look to do other things like that as we move forward.
And as you move forward, that's a great transition, because with any program, right, you got to be able to think sustainability. Mm-hmm. That's important, right? You have a lot of initiatives, you start a program, you start strong, and then as the program matures, you're like, okay, where are we going to continue to bring in resources, right? How can we scale to continue to make an impact, but always being mindful that these programs cost money.
Right.
They do. So we got to be very purposeful in ensuring that we're scaling very smart, that we're bringing in resources. So Dan, what's your vision for the Strength and Step program as a national initiative as we mature, knowing that we're going to have to attract resources?
Well, just as you just mentioned, we expanded too fast. We went into Phoenix, we had a building, and we were just blowing through money, right? And it just was absolutely inefficient. We weren't producing anything. And so we sat back and we're like, we thought we were going to have a kingdom all around the country and build our own little mansions everywhere. And we figured out that's not the way to do it. And you're wasting your money. You got to be more efficient. And so partnering was one of the ways we determined that we were going to be more efficient, and has really paid huge dividends to us. On a national basis, what we want to do is to go around and partner with other brother and sister organizations. They don't have 300 people on their waiting list, right? And so can we partner and use your facility, train together? You don't have service dogs, your inventory is low. Can we help you with that? Can we partner more and more? You won't lose your identity. We're not going to lose our identity. Everything is going to stay the same, but what we're going to do is we're going to save more lives, right? And the collateral consequences of the life of the Sam and his family, or every warrior that we see has significant others, right? They have family dependents. And so the consequences of the collateral consequences of PTSD on them, which is what Elizabeth Dole Foundation is doing, right, are immeasurable. And so the more we can get to, the faster we can get to them, and we realize we cannot do it ourselves. We're going to have to partner more and more. So we've told people we're open for business, we're open for sharing. How can we help? How can we save more lives together? And that's, you all with Endeavors, as a partnership, we can go forward into other service dog companies that don't have the case management capability, haven't thought about it, and not to criticize them at all. They just don't have the ability, right? And so they love raising dogs. They're raising great dogs that are paired, but then they let the warrior go and the dog go, and we don't track, right? And so to me, our ability to maintain a relationship with Warrior Sam and the service dog, because we owe, obviously, our number one priority is the human, but really close to that is number two, the service dog. And we make sure that our warriors know that when they leave us, that service dog is not theirs. We're leasing that service dog to the warrior because we want to make sure that warrior is doing what they need to do to maintain that service dog. Majority of our donors are there for the service dog, right? And so because you got a lot of different great veteran service organizations that are there for the veteran, we find that a majority of our donors are there for the fact that we rescue service dogs. And there's a whole contingent in America that love that aspect of it. But we're going to track not only the case management for them, I guess maybe what we'll do is start to do the case management for the service dog. But we have that strong relationship with that service dog, and they're dependent on us to make sure that we are making sure that the warrior is taking care of them. We just rolled out this month a televet program for our warriors around the country. I don't know if, Sam, you haven't got it yet, maybe, but they're going to have, and we'll roll that ultimately into insurance for our warrior service dogs. And then we'll start to partner with all of the service dog companies around the country that are willing to do it. And we'll build a service dog insurance network.